Okay, we will begin. So I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Maplewood Community Design Review Board. Today is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022, 6:00 p.m. Actually, a couple minutes after that. Next is roll call, and it looks like everyone that is on the board is here. So then we will move on to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. Staff, any additions or corrections, etc.?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the agenda as presented.
Okay, anything from the board? I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the agenda for the Tuesday, February 15th Community Design Review Board.
You got a motion?
Second that.
Motion from Jason and a second from Anat, sounds like.
Yes.
I don't think there's any discussion, so we will move to approve, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. It's approved. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of January 18th, 2022. Staff, any corrections, etc.?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the minutes as presented.
Okay, anything from the board? I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the January 18th CDRB meeting as presented.
Okay, got a motion from Jason and a second from anybody?
Second.
And that's from Tom. Okay, so we got a Tom, did you do the first, our first motion, did you make the second, or was that a not?
I made a second.
Both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Let the record stand corrected there. So anyway, any discussion? Hearing none, we will move on to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Calling it to a vote. We have sound.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any nays? If you have a nay, just wave your hand. I'm thinking maybe we might have a sound issue again, but I will assume that we are approved of the minutes. Moving on to the next item is new business, design review resolution, Becker Furniture, 1852 County Road D East. Staff report, please.
All right, good evening, Chair and members of the board. Just going to get my PowerPoint presentation up here for you. There we go. So tonight we'll be looking at proposed renovation and reuse of an existing building for Becker Furniture. The site is at 1852 County Road D East, 4.78 acres, and this is formerly the Toys R Us building. The applicant is requesting approval for design review. The current controls of the property, it's guided for our future land use as mixed use community in zoned BC business commercial. The comp plan guides the property for community and regional serving commercial retail or service businesses, offices, and high density housing. The proposed use meets the intent of the comprehensive plan. It's a permitted use in the business commercial zoning district. The majority of the improvements that Becker is proposing would be to the interior of that existing building. There are some exterior site improvements proposed that to the storefront, general facade, and some landscaping. They're not proposing any changes currently to the existing access to the site, the parking lot layout, or lighting. The existing parking lot exceeds our parking minimums. And the building is proposed to be primarily repainted in a combination of grays, blacks, and browns, aligning with the furniture store's overall company branding. So I'm going to go through the elevations here briefly with you. So this is the main entrance elevation. The main thing that they're going to be doing here is you'll see the difference with removing that red awning on the either side of the entrance. They're going to be defining that storefront, which will be, what is it, fiber cement panels, again, painted in that gray color. And then they'll be opening up the, right now where there's some windows, adding some additional windows on the left side of the entrance there. So other than the new storefront area and the fiber cement panels there, that's all we have. Here, they'll be replacing the loading dock area, the ramp, the doorway, repainting the building again. And I forgot to mention, there's like a black accent on the top of the main entrance area and above their signage as well. It's metal. And then you'll see on here, they talk about the downspouts as well, replacing and modifying those existing scupper and downspouts. The signage will be reviewed separately. So you'll notice there is some signage on the building. That's not part of tonight's approval process. That will be reviewed separately through our sign permit process. They're hoping to complete their site improvements this winter yet and this spring, and opening in late spring of 2022. Our engineering department provided some comments. They're aware of some existing storm sewer system issues. And so they need, if there are any issues still, they need to make repairs as necessary. So what they've requested is that the applicant have an inspection done and provide documentation to the engineering staff to review. And then again, make repairs as needed. Fire department really just wants to have those fire and alarm systems inspected. And our environmental staff would like to see some additional landscaping incorporated on the site. So they've provided some comments that were included in your report as well. They've requested that an updated landscape plan be submitted for review. So a comment or a condition has been added that the applicant will work with our environmental staff to get an updated landscaping plan over to them. So finally, tonight we are reviewing this application. This will be the only stop for the application, so just at the design review board. We did send notice to the surrounding property owners within 500 feet, and we did not receive any comments from the public. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the project at 1852 County Road D. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. And we do have a couple representatives here that are representing the applicant from the architectural firm, and then also from Becker Furniture.
Okay, thank you. Board, any comments? Any questions? I think it's pretty straightforward, but
Couple.
yep.
One is, I know all elevations conveniently leave out all the rooftop mounted equipment. Now as you drive on 694, all that you see on top of all those buildings is a whole bunch of mechanical equipment. So my first question is, are they adding any new mechanical equipment on the roof? And my second question is, in terms of lighting on the building, are they adding any lighting on the building?
Chair and board, to address the question on the screening. Right now, they're currently not proposing any changes to the existing mechanical. We do have a condition that is added on to our resolution, number 4, that the applicant will comply with all city ordinances for screening of mechanical equipment, trash enclosures, and parking areas. So we'll have to, they'll have to take a look at the code and make sure that the building does comply with those ordinances, and staff can send that over to them. And right now, there are no proposed changes to lighting that I'm aware of. At least they don't indicate that in their plans.
Okay. I saw on one of the elevations, it looked like Halloween is Us or something like that.
Yes, Chair and Board, that was, I think, just a temporary user. As you know, the building's been vacant for a number of years, so
Okay,
I think that was just like a temporary Halloween costume.
okay,
Shop
that was just a
type thing.
mistake. That's not the plans we're looking at.
No, I think they were the photos that they used for the existing elevations, just to
Okay,
give you a comparison to look at.
all right. Board, any other comments or questions?
Can you show me the elevation, the north elevation facing the freeway again, please?
Oh, sure. Right here.
Okay. I guess
they
it's
are-
a little
ahead.
better than what is existing in terms of course, a freeway is elevated in relationship to the building. Is that correct? So,
Yes, yes, slightly, I believe it is.
yeah, so as you whiz by at 55 miles an hour, all these buildings just go by in a flash, so. But anyway, to me, it does look like a little improvement from the existing building, so I'm okay with that.
Staff, I agree with Anant. The building elevations are a nice improvement for this structure. I like the contrast in the colors, and obviously we're just looking at renderings. But I would encourage the applicant to be as close to these renderings as far as that color contrast, because I think it adds some appeal to the structure. For the landscape plans that staff will be reviewing, I don't see, besides, perimeter plantings, this is a large parking lot. I think there may be some islands at the ends of some of the parking stalls. Are we able to incorporate any trees or into that to break up some of that mass of parking? I guess it would be to the south side of the building where they're like main front entrance where people are walking in and out. Is that something that can be incorporated into the landscape review?
Chair and Board, I think that's a great comment. I mean, as of right now, I can go through, if you'd like, I can go through what, for anyone that's listening anyways, what the Environmental and Natural Resources Department, their comments, but generally, they are going to require a revised landscaping plan showing all the existing species on site and the location, the condition of them, the size, and then anything to be planted. I think from there is where that collaboration will occur between them. We have really knowledgeable environmental staff. And so they can decide on what they want to see there. If you would like to see something specific in terms of adding something to those parking islands, that would be certainly something we can
So
add in
my encouragement, and maybe it would be an amendment, but I would encourage it to be a staff reviewed amendment.
Yeah.
Would be across the street. I sat on the I don't know if it was part of the Living Streets, or the mall did substantial improvements to their parking lots, incorporating a lot of stormwater management, and they incorporated a lot of vegetation into the mall, and you're starting to see that really fill in across the street from this property.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those legacy parking lots that didn't really have a lot of that. And so I would encourage that we pull a little bit of what's happening across the street from this property over into this property. Obviously, understanding it's got to work on the site, and the vegetation has to be in good growing conditions so that it has longevity. That's why I say as long as staff can review that.
Absolutely. And
That's
if you go ahead.
That's it. That's all I had.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you'd like, we could add a sentence to the condition that we have on the report requiring that updated landscape plan, something to the effect of looking at additional plantings within the parking lot area.
Yeah.
If you'd like. Or,
Yeah, we could,
or,
yeah,
you know, it's.
I'll
we
add
can
that. I'll
discuss it.
add that when I motion for approval on this.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
would support that. Okay. Any other comments, et cetera?
I think that the colors are going to be much better for sun fading than the existing Toys R Us one, which had very primary colors, which got sun faded very quickly and very evident over the years. So I think that the color choices they have, assuming that those browns and grays fade a bit better where the direct sunlight is, will be better long term.
Yeah, looking at other stores that they have in the metro area, looks like the colors are long lasting. For instance, just 2 weeks ago, I saw the store over in Woodbury, and it looked just fine.
Yeah, so this is Paul Meyer, just sort of to address your question regarding the materials, and I'm the architect for working with Becker Furniture, and I've done the designs for all their store locations that are in the Twin Cities metro area. So this is the design for this is that it's a slightly different color palette than what you may have seen, Chair, at the Woodbury location. They currently are doing a storefront, a new storefront at their Blaine location at the mall up there. And so these are the exact colors that were proposed up there. So actually in a very short period of time, you'll see that coming to life up there as well. So there's the colors that we're using. I mean, the paint colors, obviously the paint is the one that would be the most susceptible to color degradation, but those are all in that the lights and the grays, the whites and the grays. We have an ephes, which is at the signage material, and that's a very light color. So that'll be very stable on the storefront, and then the sign corner. We actually have actual new masonry going at the base of that sign. It's and the paint along the base. What you're seeing there is painting the existing masonry, but we're putting in a new burnished block at this signage piece here and at the entry storefront. It's actually a burnished block that's going in that we're matching to. It's a charcoal gray color. Sort of that tan sort of buttress on the sides of the white ephes. That Nichiha, I mean, it's a color that comes with it, and we've used Nichiha. It's a cement-based panel system. We use that a lot, and we found their colors to be very stable. So the paints are matching actual, fabricated panels and masonry products. So
yeah, I might also comment that with the old Toys R Us, that this store had been vacant for a number of years, and that had the business remained viable, they probably would have maintained it. So we wouldn't see the fading at this point. But anyway, I think your design looks fine.
thank you.
Okay, any other comments or anything from the board?
I don't have any further comments.
Want to make a stab at it, Jason?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve. I believe we're approving section 4 for the Becker furniture that is replacing the Toys R Us, and items 1 through 5 as written. A slight amendment to item 6 to review in the landscape plans with staff, the ability to add additional parking lot trees similar to the mall improvements across the street, to carry some of that cohesive design. And then 7 as written.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second, but I also have a friendly amendment.
Go ahead.
I know there's not any new materials per se, but it's mainly only paint. But regardless, I would like the applicant to submit paint swatches for all the exterior paints to the city staff, so they have that on record and they can compare that to the final paint scheme on the building.
Okay, Jason, that's acceptable?
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. So the motion passes. Good luck on your project. And I guess we'll probably hear from you again in about like a month or so regarding the signage. So we'll move on to the next item of business, which is design review resolution, McCarran's Water Treatment Plant Improvement Project, 1900 Rice Street North. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair and Board. You should see my screen here with a PowerPoint showing the outline of the staff report that I'll be giving here. We're looking at the St. Paul Regional Water Services McCarran's Water Treatment Plant, which is located at 1900 Rice Street North. You can see the red outline of the overall campus, which is quite large. And then we're focusing in this yellow dashed area for the project area itself. To move forward, the applicant needs approval of a conditional use permits and design review. The conditional use permit amendment will be reviewed by the Planning Commission later this evening, who is also holding the public hearing for this item. So this group will be looking at design review, and we can talk more specifically on that recommendation at the end of the presentation. The campus itself is mostly guided public institutional by the city's comprehensive plan. It is zoned farm residential. The comprehensive plan guides the property for public uses. That's what's already in place and what's being proposed moving forward. And public uses and utilities are permitted in any zoning district in the city with a conditional use permit in place. Hence the requirement with the Planning Commission we'll be looking at later this evening. So there will be a significant demolition work that will take place on the campus. You can see the project area on an aerial photo that includes what the finished product would look like. So that red outline is where the physical building components would be located. But the grading and tree removal is more extensive to the site, and we'll talk about that as well here in a couple minutes. But so a significant amount of demolition work and tree removal occurring on that 23-acre portion of the main campus. And this is an extensive project, obviously. So the St. Paul Regional Water is looking to get started in the next month. And then the completion date is out to the middle of 2026. So lots of moving parts here and components to a project of this size and nature. The layout of the the layout of the site is largely dictated by existing conditions. If you've been able to get a look at the existing facilities versus what's being proposed, you can kind of understand where things are going, and makes logical sense where these facilities are being laid out. It's just being expanded as part of the treatment plant project. All new facilities, and staff worked with St. Paul Regional Water and their design team extensively on what these setback requirements were and what the city's expectations from a code perspective were. And so all facilities are meeting these minimum setback requirements, and those specific setbacks are laid out in the staff report that you were able to review previous to the meeting. One aspect that's not shown on this proposed site plan is there is a temporary access road coming off of Roselawn Avenue that is being proposed. If you, in the staff report, and then which refers to the engineering review, it is staff's recommendation that this access road be pushed as far west as possible to both take advantage of existing facilities on the site, but also to create as much of a buffer to the residential homes to the east of the campus. Again, from a design perspective here, the two new structures are being designed to be consistent with other buildings on campus. There's essentially two facilities that are being constructed building-wise that will be constructed again on the east side of the site, looking in this area of the site plan. Both structures are to be constructed with the white and gray precast concrete panels with a blue metal coping. And then kind of take a step back on the demolition aspect. you can see in this image, which is included with the applicant's narrative in your staff report, the blue areas are indicating what areas would be demolished first during stage 1, and then later for stage 2, and the orange here coming back for these areas. And then the bottom graphic shows the extensive nature of the tree removal that is being proposed. So while we do feel that at the conclusion of these proposed improvements, we don't feel that the neighborhood will experience significant change in conditions that they experience today. But to get from today to the end of the project, there are going to be some bumps in the road. And so there's 2 major areas that we feel that the conditional use should address. And again, we'll talk about this with the Planning Commission, but there are design implications. So we want to make sure that the CDRB has full understanding of that. So again, the 2 areas are the proposed removal of trees and the construction management. I'll touch on the construction management first. Staff is recommending that a construction management plan be submitted to the city for approval by the Public Works Director. Again, to show how the project will be managed over the course of 5 years. And I won't read these items. These were also included in the staff report, but you can see how the comprehensive we're expecting this management plan to be, because we want to have a clear understanding both from the city's perspective, but more importantly from the residents and property owners that are adjacent to the project, what they can expect from the construction project and where to go with questions or issues. So that's the first part that staff is looking for from a conditional use standpoint. And then the second is both conditional use permit, but also has site plan design implications. So the applicant in the submitted plans that you reviewed is proposing to remove 384 significant trees, mostly on the east side of the site. Again, you can see this orange shaded area is the area of tree removal. The proposed tree plan removal show just a handful of trees to be removed, all but a handful of trees to be removed near the shared property line. So there are upwards of 25, 30 trees that are essentially right on the property line that the applicant has indicated would stay. With that, staff is concerned about the number of significant trees proposed to be lost, and the trees serve as a screening, both visually and somewhat with noise as well. So staff is recommending that the trees within 50 feet of the residential property lines be preserved. Now the next 4 slides, I'm just gonna talk to, but I want to make clear that they're not the City of Maplewood slides, and St. Paul Regional Water submitted them for our review earlier today. And we want this to be part of the conversation, both with this group and the next group. So I'll provide an overview on them, but if there's specific questions, and I would ask the chair, allow the applicant time to speak directly to them as well, as they have kind of a proposal, maybe a counter proposal to staff's recommendation. So they're showing 3 distinct areas in that area near the residential property line. So obviously area 1 here in the center, area 2 down towards the south, and area 3 up to the north. And they're indicating that area 1 in the yellow is space needed for stormwater pond, infiltration pond, and excavation to serve the project. Area 2 to the south is space that they're needing to store on-site storage of fill material. As you can understand, a project of this magnitude, a lot of dirt, soil is being moved around to facilitate. And then area 3 to the north, space needed for construction logistics and to move access road as far west as possible. So they're outlining how they would like to approach screening and mitigation in each of these 3 areas. So area 1, again, the yellow, more focused on the center of the site. They're proposing a 10-foot wall with sound absorbing fabric to mitigate noise and visual impacts. We would need to know more on like just the other side of the wall, the residential wall, for aesthetics, what that would look like. But they're indicating here why they feel they can't meet that 50-foot buffer, as they're needing it again for the stormwater features to treat the stormwater for the project and grading for the buildings. Area 2 to the south here in the orange, they're proposing a 15-foot berm to provide enhanced visual and sound mitigation compared to what's there for existing trees. So again, that 15-foot berm is what they would like to propose as an option as opposed to the tree preservation in this area. And then area 3 to the north, they lay out 2 options, providing a 30-foot buffer and infill existing trees as proposed, as proposed for final conditions. So adding, they indicate about 40 trees to what's there currently. So again, maintaining that 30-foot buffer, or option 2, extend that fence that we saw in area 1 along the full property line. So we would like to get a sense of the CDRB's reaction to this kind of counter proposal. But I would ask the chair, invite the applicant to speak more specifically to them. Last slide here. Staff surveyed the surrounding property owners. About 271 individual property owners were sent both surveys and public hearing notices. Those represent the properties within 500 feet of the site. We received 2 responses, which were included in your staff reports. And really those concerns, not surprisingly, focused on concerns on the impact of the construction process itself. So, construction traffic routing, where the soil is going to be stored, hours of operation, those type of items. So staff is recommending approval of the project, of the design review resolution that's included with your staff report. I can stand for any questions that the board may have. And as I indicated, the applicant is also present and their team is present tonight to address the board and any questions that you may have.
Michael, I have a question for you on that last 2 slides, but and it's in relation to the selection of what that buffer is. When we did reconstruction of Highway 36 at English Street, we provided, the city provided the residents that lived directly along that corridor with the option, and in a town hall type forum, one side of the highway selected to go with a wall, and the north side of the highway selected to go with vegetation. And I drive that section every day, and vegetation has fared really, really well. And so my inclination would be to go the vegetative route for that area 2, and then question for area 3. For area 3 would be to go the vegetation route. But would there be a process the city would go through to actually allow those residents that directly back up to that to have an input similar to the 36 project?
Yeah, Chair and Board, that definitely could be an option. These slides were presented to the city, and this is all on a tight timeline and that's understandable. So we're just starting as a city, as an entity of the city, to process what this could mean. And so we want to understand where the commission and board tonight with the 2 meetings, where the preferences lay and where recommendations are going to be made. And then I think there likely could be a process to get the neighborhood more directly involved, those property owners that are directly affected to weigh in on the options.
That group of property owners that back directly. Now, when we go to the berm section, which was section 2, obviously they're showing a graded vegetated berm. Is that able to have trees planted into that berm, or is that berm needed to be a unvegetated, meaning no shrubs, no pine trees, no trees in that?
Mike, could I jump in just to clear up something that may be a point of confusion here?
Sure.
Because I know we just spoke to you earlier today. So the 3 solutions you're seeing here for these 3 areas are construction phase solutions. So the berm is not in the long term in this area. We would propose to plant trees. We've got a tree planting plan that's part of the submittal.
Okay.
And we would be planting vegetation really around all of these property lines. This is specifically for the construction phase because we know that'll be the higher impact time. So putting this berm here, it gives us a great sound barrier, gives us a visual barrier to the project. It allows us to store a bunch of dirt that otherwise we'd be having to truck off site, and there's a lot of negatives that go with that. Same deal with the sound wall. That would be, again, a temporary solution to mitigate the impacts of construction. In the long run, we'd be coming back and planting trees along the property. So just Yep.
In
Go ahead.
that
Sorry.
time frame, then is the, and I know staff has asked for a detailed construction plan so that the scheduling is known. In your, and obviously you don't know specifics, but would this be the berm, the trees, and the wall? Would those be constructed in, say, the first 3 to 5 months of the project, so that the homeowners would realize that buffer during the project? And then is the vegetation plan for, say, the last 3 to 5 months of the project then?
I think, yes, I think that would be an accurate way to view it. The wall, we would get up the visual screening as early as possible. The berm will take a little bit of time because obviously we have to excavate the material, but you're talking about a 4.5-year-long project. It'd take maybe 6 months, 7 months to get that berm built. But once it's built, you'd be really hard pressed to find a more foolproof. I mean, comparing that to the visual screening from the 30 or so trees that are there, the berm will certainly provide more screening, and same from an audible standpoint. And so there will be a period as we're building it at the start that may be a bit of a pain point for neighbors, but for the 3.5 years that sit right in the middle of the project, we think it's a far superior solution, even than leaving the trees that are already there from minimizing impacts to neighbors. Does that answer your question okay?
What's the height of the berm?
15.
And so what the picture that I'm seeing now, that is the St. Paul water side, and the other side is the residential side. Is that what I'm seeing?
The picture that you're seeing now is just a reference from another project. The berm would be constructed in 7 or 8 months
Yeah, I
from now.
understand,
So
but the slope that I'm seeing in the picture, even though it's from another project, is that on the SPRWS side or the residential side?
good question. I think there would be a similar slope on both sides, just from the way you'd store the soil. So it would look like this on both sides of the berm.
So if the overall width is 50 feet, you're saying that there will be a 25-foot wide berm to the peak, and then another 25 feet slope down to the other side?
Roger and John, do you know the width of the berm? The berm would be about 15 feet tall, and then the width would ultimately be driven by the type of soil to make sure that it's stable, and also that we can plant vegetation on it. I don't know offhand what the width of the berm would be myself.
Yeah, we're pulling it up. I mean, the berm would potentially have a little bit of a steeper slope than what you're showing here, right? It might be as much as 2 to 1. This is a slope you could gently walk up probably. The slope would be used to kind of maximize the amount of soils that are stored, and this isn't something that people are going to be walking up and down on, right? So I think what you're seeing here is similar, if not something steeper than what would actually be done. We'll try and pull up the actual width of the berm here in a minute. We can let you know when we.
The final solution you say is vegetation. So when it comes to the final solution, would it be a 50-foot wide strip of vegetation trees, or would it be 30 feet?
It'll be 30 foot. The final conditions have a roughly a 10-foot open section right along the fence line for security purposes for the utility. And then there's about a 20-foot wide row of trees. So it's about a 30-foot total buffer, but right on the fence line is non-vegetated for security reasons. Obviously, St. Paul as a critical utility needs to have the ability to be able to look up and down their fence line without having trees obscure that view.
So that would be the same for area 2 and area 3?
Correct, for area 2 and for area 3, there are a few more trees actually on the fence line itself, because we are saving more trees up along that fence line. They were infilling those trees more, and there was not quite as much of a space between the actual property line, fence line, and the trees themselves. I believe in the review packet itself, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but within our submittal package, there is a fully detailed plan. I can pull it up here in a minute if you'd like, of what all the plantings look like along both of those corridors.
Yep, that's correct.
Will the berm create a drainage problem for the residents?
Yeah, so we'll certainly work with city staff to make sure that that concern is addressed and mitigated. It's not the intent to, run rainwater down the side of the berm and into folks' backyards. And certainly with soil storage, there are always stormwater requirements that come with making sure you're not generating erosion or things of that nature. And so that's all, as we've worked with city staff to get to this point, it certainly details that we need to hammer out, but absolutely understand that concern, and we'll make sure that we've taken all the steps needed to make sure we're not turning people's backyards into pools.
Okay, I understand now. The berm is going to be 15 feet tall by 30 feet wide. So that would be a 45-degree angle. How is that going to be structurally accomplished?
Maybe we can correct that. The width of the base of the berm is nearly 100 feet. So it's significantly.
Oh,
it's
not
significantly
that steep.
diverse. No.
No, I thought it was going to be 30 feet. Maybe I missed.
No, the 30 foot is in reference to the final vegetated buffer.
Okay, got it.
I'll make one note that maybe will help or explain some of the rationale behind the berm as well. We think that it's helpful from a visual standpoint and an audio standpoint for the neighbors, but also part of our thinking here, there are about 30 trees in the area. They provide some screening, but this would allow us to store about 18,000 cubic yards of soil on the site. And if you do the math on how much diesel emissions it is to truck that off-site to a site, say 15 miles away, the CO2 emitted by driving that many dump truck trips 15 miles is equivalent to deforesting like 260 acres of forest per an EPA calculator. And so partly it's our thought here and why this is the best solution is that it provides full screening. It's temporary. We think it'll mitigate construction impacts. Also, from an environmental standpoint, it really minimizes environmental impacts to a tremendous degree. And also, with that level of trucking, you've also got millions of dollars of expenses that come in. And as a public utility, every dollar saved on this project is a dollar that's passed on to residents of Maplewood and the 450,000 other people we serve. So to us, it seems like, it's probably not the most elegant solution, but we think it's, a perfectly reasonable solution to provide the visual and audible screening. It's certainly the most environmentally friendly solution. It's certainly the most fiscally responsible solution that we've got available to us. And in the long run, we'll be moving that to fill in holes from things that we've demolished. We'll be planting trees, and we think we'll give you a really aesthetically pleasing site. So that's kind of the overall logic that's flowed into this plan, that it just seems like from any angle you look at it, it's the most responsible approach to managing that perimeter boundary.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I just my only concerns about are if this would create a runoff problem for the neighborhood, and I would just want to make sure that the berm is structurally sound, that the berm itself doesn't erode. So that's the only thing I got about it. I think it's good use of materials, and so there.
Just make a comment that if you had just provided a section drawing through the berm, you would have avoided all the questions that we asked you.
Apologies for that.
Yeah, but I do have to commend the applicant for the really nice booklet you put together for us. With the spiral binding and everything, that's a little more detail than we see usually.
Thank you. We got a great team working on this. We're proud of the work so far.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I never got to see the booklet because I am connecting from New York. So,
Oh, well, when you get home, you're going to love it.
okay, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah. So
Staff, are we,
here it is.
is our approval section 3 of the 3.01?
So Chair and Board, your approval starts on, it's the design review resolution, which is page 21 of the
The
packet.
one-
And,
Yep.
and then the conditions, correct, start under section 3.
Okay, I thought that was the case. Thank you
Yep.
for confirming. So staff, because we received our packets ahead of time, those resolutions on those 4 slides are not memorialized in this document.
That's correct.
Okay.
So yeah, our recommendation that's memorialized in the report is still the 50 foot. So if there's, and that's based on just approval of the site plan. So if there's something that resonated with this conversation that you feel that the city council should be incorporating the additional data that the applicant provided tonight, you should add that into your motion.
I got a feeling we're going to have more of this is going to come back to us later on for more approval. Does that sound?
No, chair and board, you know, they presented the entire project to you tonight.
Okay.
So there isn't additional phases that would be coming back before you. So
Okay.
this, you would,
Oh, so
this is,
because there were different options presented.
yeah, so it's, I think it's your opportunity to provide that, the feedback. And if you have a clear idea on what things should be incorporated, I would encourage you to incorporate that into your motion. And then the city council reviews this at the end of the month, and they will make the final decisions.
So the only real difference between the city's recommendation and the applicants is the difference between the 50-foot buffer final and the 30-foot buffer. Is that correct?
Chair and board, correct on that north, like the north side of the site, correct. And then for, you know, area 1 and 2, as you go south, they're proposing those temporary treatments.
I understand the temporary treatments, but I thought the final solution even for area 2 was a 30-foot buffer.
I get, Chair, at this time, I would ask the applicant to clarify what they envision, again, for that final condition, if it's versus what they submitted with the original submittal, if that's what they see for area 1 and 2, or would they incorporate a 30-foot buffer of some sort?
Correct.
So-
Roger and
Yep.
Don, you guys have the drawings pulled up. Do you want to go ahead and walk through that tree
Sure.
planting plan?
Sure.
State?
And maybe, yeah, and I think, Chair and Board, maybe this is where we need some clarity from staff about exactly what that 50-foot buffer refers to. If that 50-foot buffer is something that is simply going to be judged at the completion of the project, or if that 50-foot buffer is for during construction, right? Because we had interpreted that it was for during construction, right?
Yeah, Chair and board, the 50-foot setback that is recommended by staff, you know, going into this meeting was they don't touch 50 feet of anything within from the residential property lines at any
Right.
point. So existing conditions stay during and after construction. With the proposed treatments that they're proposing for areas 1 and 2, they are still proposing to demolish or, you know, remove all those trees and remove existing conditions, put in the treatments, and then refer back to what they originally proposed in the landscaping plans, is my understanding.
Right. So we would have an interim period where we do need to remove those trees, but maybe it'd be helpful for the board to see, this is indeed what that northern area, so this would be what we were calling area 3, right? This is what that area would look like This is our tree planting plan. These are all of the new trees that would be planted. And you can see here, the screen trees are the trees, the existing trees that would remain throughout construction. And that would be, again, moving down. Here would be the bottom portion of area 3 and moving into area 2 and or area 1, and you can see why, due to the construction here, we needed to remove those trees to build a stormwater pond. But this is what it would look like under final conditions. So there would be, a significant, nearly a 30-foot buffer there during the final conditions.
Can you confirm a dimension for me on that plan? From
bet.
that roadway to that homeowner's property that's right in the corner, section 1 there, right where your hand is, what is the dimension from? I don't even think there's 30 feet between the property line and that roadway.
And Chair and Commission, as he's dimensioning that out, the setback is 20 feet from that roadway. And it should be noted that St. Paul Regional Water has purchased that property.
They have.
Yeah, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but the intention, I believe their intention is to hold it because of grading or stormwater impacts that could occur during the project. But ultimately, after conditions, they would resell that property back into the private market.
That's correct, Mike. So the current homeowners have sold the property to us during construction. There will be some grading impacts in the southwest corner, and then at culmination, we expect to resell it. So new homeowners, the setback should be, it fits Maplewood's requirements of over 20 feet. And also the new property owners will be looking out the back when they purchase the house and seeing exactly how far that setback is and if they feel comfortable.
Okay, that completely answers my question then. That was, okay.
It might be helpful as well. Can
I ask a question just around preserving some additional trees, particularly in that section 2, I believe the one that would be on the bottom part of the site. So if you're proposing, building a temporary wall to the north, couldn't that wall be extended and be utilized to retain some of that soil that's being moved around on the site?
Well, to clarify, I think the word wall maybe be a misnomer. It's a fence, right? I mean, this would be a chain link fence with acoustic treatments on it, the screening. So it's a 10-foot high fence, but I think to say it's a wall that could, have soil piled against it would not be correct.
We did though, to your point, consider bringing the wall further south, and it's something that we certainly could consider. We didn't ultimately think there was a whole lot of purpose to it, in that the wall would be 10 feet tall, and you'd be building a 15-foot tall soil berm behind it. And the berm, that's going to do a better job of mitigating sound, and it's another 5 feet taller, so it'll mitigate more visual impacts as well. So bringing the wall further south adds some extra expense, and for a month or two, you might get some added benefit out of it. But in the long run, we didn't think it added much value to the proposed, if that answers your question. If you see it differently, though, it's certainly something we could consider doing.
Help me understand why in zone 3 on the north side, you are not able to comply with the city requirement of leaving everything alone as is for 50 feet.
Sure, absolutely. There are a couple uses on that north side that are vital to the project. One is as far west as we can go, so it'll be well over 50 feet from the property line. We'll be building a construction roadway that offers a handful of benefits. One, it totally separates the construction portion of the project from our day-to-day operations of the treatment plant, which is a huge security advantage for us to be able to totally separate and keep construction vehicles in the construction area and not roaming about the campus freely. So that's a big security benefit that benefits all 450,000 of our customers. The other benefit is really to anybody who's utilizing Roselawn Avenue. Sylvan Street, which is the entrance that we have right now to the treatment plant, is not designed for truck traffic of this level. And so by building a dedicated construction entrance, we'll set things up and place the security checkpoint there in such a way to ensure that we don't ever back up onto Roselawn Avenue and impact traffic. And so that's a big benefit to anyone driving along that stretch of road. So we'll have that construction entryway, and then again, we have about 250 employees. That's what we have capacity to park in our main parking lot. We have to add capacity for electricians and masons and other workers who are going to be working on this project to access the site during construction. And so alongside the construction roadway, there will be some temporary parking built. And that's where we can offer a 30-foot buffer. But if you get into any more than that, then all of a sudden you've got hundreds of craft labor that have nowhere to park in any proximity to the site, and you have to start busing people to the site, or it gets very expensive and very challenging. When the alternative here is an extra 20 feet or so of screening. I'll add, in addition to the 30 feet of screening, we've noted if it's something that you're more comfortable with, we could, in front of these trees or behind them, build one of those 10-foot sound walls if you think that would add, or something that's already part of our plan and we haven't talked about is there's an existing 7-foot tall chain link fence there. We'll be wrapping that in like a taut mesh fabric that usually comes in green or black, and we'll provide really solid visual screening. So you'll have that, you'll have 30 feet of trees, and then you'll have parking, and then you'll have a construction roadway. So certainly there will be visual impacts, but there are a handful of barriers before you get to the roadway that will be heavily trafficked back there. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
There were 2 comments from the public, I understand. I've been I can't find them. Can you tell me what page they'd be on?
Yeah, and as I'm looking at that up, Chair and Board, if anyone's logging on for the Planning Commission meeting, that will start in a few minutes after this meeting concludes. And then the comments are included on pages 15 and 16.
Okay. When will most of the grading be happening?
The final grading, or just grading in general?
The major grading, the stuff that's really disruptive.
So the project in general will follow, there will be kind of 2 peaks in a valley. The early stages, when we're demolishing infrastructure and excavating to build the new facilities, will be most impactful. That would be this summer and this fall. And then we'll have about 3.5 years of construction work that, you'll see cranes and stuff, but construction work's not super noisy. Eventually the exterior will be built and we'll be moving things inside. And then at the end, there's some additional demolition and grading. So in total of the 4.5 years the project will last, you've got probably about 5 months at the beginning where it's pretty heavy, and another 6 months or so at the end where it's pretty heavy, and a lull in the middle where the impacts will be considerably less.
When will the tree removal be happening? Is that going to be like before any grading, or will that happen sometime after grading has begun?
The tree removal would be the first step. It's necessary to make the grading work possible.
Okay.
And Chair and Board, I'm just going to interject one more time. I know we have planning commission members that have joined and maybe a
Right.
caller for the public hearing that will be held during the planning commission. So we're just wrapping up the community design review board that started at 6, and the planning commission will start a few minutes after we're concluded here. And that will include the public hearing for the St. Paul Regional Water Project.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion from the board?
Have any further questions or discussion?
Or would like somebody like to make a motion as to,
Well, I don't have the documents, so I would prefer somebody else to make the motion, but I just have one comment. In listening to the applicant, the reason they don't want to stick with the 50-foot on the north side is, to me, just a temporary issue of construction parking mainly. So it's true that they would have an issue of accommodating construction parking, but in the long run, the 50-year outlook for the thing, the project would be much better served by retaining a large section of those trees there on the north side. I'm okay with what they're proposing on the south side, but this is my opinion for the north side. I just throw that out. I don't know how the other board members feel.
I'd support that.
And I just don't, revegetating it when the project's done is going to revegetate it with 10, 12-foot tall trees maximum. And it's going to take 40 years for them to regain the size and the caliber of the trees that exist there today. I would completely agree with that, Anand.
So why don't you take a stab, Jason?
All right, I will motion to approve the plans for the McCarran's water treatment process improvement project, section 3.01 under the design review resolution, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then under 8, 8A states the staff's desire to have the 50-foot preservation. As I understand it, they proposed 30 feet, Michael, in there.
Chair and Board, 30 feet for area 3.
For areas 3, okay?
Yep.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. And that's without impacting the trees in that area for 30 feet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to write the motion for the 30 feet in area 3. And then area 1 and 2, based on the proximity to the construction, as proposed by the applicant. And I would accept friendly amendments from my colleagues. And then items 9, 10, 11 and 12 as written by staff.
I don't see 11.
Yeah, it looks like they missed an 11. They jumped from 10 to 12.
Yeah, Chair and board will renumber that for the council.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay, that's great, but I still am confused. I thought the staff recommendation was to leave 50 feet of, on the north side, section 3 of trees alone. I'm hearing
That
now
a-
that,
a friendly amendment to have that at 50, Anand?
yes, that is my amendment.
I thought the 30 feet had to do with section 3.
Yep, Chair and
That's-
board. So Jason essentially made a motion incorporating the regional waters suggested alterations to the staff recommendation. Mr. Shankar is adding a friendly amendment to boost 30 back to 50. If it's
In that
accepted.
just in section 3, not
section
along
3.
the entirety of the thing.
That is correct.
And I-
My amendment would only affect section 3, 50 feet.
Okay. I'll accept that as a friendly amendment, Anand, for section 3, and then section 1 and section 2 as proposed by the applicant.
Okay,
Yes,
I will
that is-
maintain my second.
Okay,
So any further discussion? Hearing none, we will take this to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? None. Consider, so with that, the motion passes. And congratulations to the applicant. Look forward to seeing this happen. Item number 3, new business, which would be election of officers. Being that we're over time, would there be any objection to table this motion till the next meeting?
I would motion to table item 3 until our next CDRB meeting.
Okay,
seconded.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Then unfinished business, none. Visitor presentations, I don't hear anything. Board, staff, anything else, anything needs to be said?
Chair and commission, no, staff does not have anything for you further other than just to reiterate that we'll be starting the planning commission in a couple minutes, and that will contain 2 public hearings. So thank you.
All right, planning commission, good luck. So we will clear out of the way and have at it. All right, we'll see you again next month, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.